Hello students, let us start our new session of chapter number 9, Ray Optics and Optical Instruments. Let us go through the new topic, combination of thin lenses in contact. Here we are having two lenses A and B. Both lenses are thin and both are in a contact. So length of F1 and F2 placed in contact with each other. That object is placed at point O, that is beyond the focus of the first lens. First lens produces an image I1. This image I1 is real and virtual. This real and that I1 image is generated by the lens 1, lens A, which consider as an image for lens B. And after the lens B, whatever the image will generated, that is I. That is what the final image by the combination of these two lenses. So here, the formation of the image by the first lens is considered as the virtual object of second lens B. And it facilitates to determine the position of final image. Here the direction of rays emerging from first lens and modified in accordance with the angle at which it will strike onto the second lens. These lenses are thin, so we consider that center of optical lenses will be coincide. We are assuming this condition, and let us denote that center as a P, as you can see in the diagram. So here the image will generated by the lens A by taking that lens formula 1 by V1 minus 1 by U equal to 1 upon F1. And the image is formed by the second lens B, that is 1 upon V minus 1 upon V1 equal to 1 upon F2. Because the image is generated from first lens, consider as object for second. So that distance is considered as V1. That is the object. And that image will be generated at distance V, that is at I. Now combine this both the equation and we will get the final 1 upon V minus 1 upon U equal to 1 upon F1 plus 1 upon F2. That 1 upon F1 plus 1 upon F2 consider as a 1 upon F. So here we can say that if two number of lenses we are combining, then its focal length can be added, like equivalent focal length 1 upon F equal to 1 upon F1 plus 1 upon F2. Likewise, any number of lenses we keep in a contact and its a equivalent focal length can be defined as 1 upon F equal to 1 upon F1 plus 1 upon F2, 1 upon F3. And as we know, power of lens, that is 1 up P equal to 1 by F. So we can write this equation in terms of power, that P equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3. Here P is the total power of the combination of lenses, and that is in terms of algebraic sum of individual power of lens. So here right side is considered as a positive for convex lens and some negative for the concave lens. This combination of lenses helps to obtain diverging or converging lens to get a desired magnification. Here if we want to get larger magnified image, then we can combine the number of lenses that become an so here the first lens get the object and its generated image can be defined as a virtual object for the next object, and the total magnification can be combined as a product of magnification of individual lenses. So it will consider as M equal to M1 into M2 into N3. This kind of combination of lenses is utilized for cameras, microscopes, telescopes, and other optical instruments. Let us go through the example related this. Find the position of an object or find the position of the image formed by the lens combination given in the example. Here three lenses are there. First and second lens are convex lens and the middle one having a spherical surface at one side only. So let us get the image formed by the first lens, that is 1 upon V1 minus 1 upon U1 equal to 1 upon F. And here the F is plus 10, U1 is minus 13, and get the V1, that is plus 15 centimeter. So image formed by the lens, now consider as an object for the second one. So here image is generated at 15 centimeter and the distance between two lenses is 5 centimeter. So let us subtract it, that is a 15 minus 5. So 15 centimeter distance we are having, that is at the right of the second lens. At this image is generated positive, it means real. It defined as a virtual object for the next second lens. So here we can take 1 upon V2 minus 1 upon U2, that is a 10 centimeter. We have calculated 15 minus 5, that is a 10 centimeter, equal to 1 upon F, and the F, that is the focal length of second lens, that is a minus 10. By equating it, we are getting V2 equal to infinite. So here infinite, it means the image is generated from the second lens at the infinite distance. Now consider that generated image generated by the second lens, consider as object for third lens and place the value in the equation. 1 upon V3 minus 1 upon U3 equal to 1 upon F3. We want to derive the V3, U3, that is infinite, that is the generated image by the second lens at an infinite distance. So that is the object distance for the third lens, that is U3 equal to infinite, F3 equal to plus 13, that is the focal length is given for the third lens. So from that equation we able to get V3 equal to 30 centimeter. So we can say that final image is formed at 30 centimeter to the right of the third lens. Now the next topic is refraction through a prism. Here prism is designed using a glass material. So light is passing through the air, falling onto the prism, as you can see in the diagram, onto the side AB. So incident angle is defined as I onto the plane AB. As from the air glass interface, light is moving inside the prism. So refraction process takes place and ray is passing into the prism by the refraction angle R1. So this incident angle I and a refracted angle R1 is available onto the side AB. Now inside the prism, that light ray is passing through it and it come across onto the other side of the prism, that is AC. So as from the AC phase, light is again moving out of the prism and moving towards the air. So again over here the medium is going to be changed. So another time refraction takes place, and by the R2 angle, that is the incident angle we can say for the AC plane from the glass, and that ray is moving outside of the prism in the air by the angle emergence angle E, that is the angle of refraction onto the side AC. Here RS, the path is taken by in the air by the light to propagate in the air. So PQ is the incident ray and RS, that is the emergent ray. PQ ray, that is also in the air, RS ray, that is also in the air. Here the angle of deviation is available by the angle delta, as you can see in the diagram at point M. So here quadrilateral is available by the A, Q, N and R. So these angles having the two vertices Q and R are the right angles. So here sum of other remaining angles of quadrilateral is available with the 180. So we can say that angle of A plus angle of Q and R, that should be equal to 180. So other remaining angles, that is R1, R2 and Q and R, that also can define the 180 from the triangle Q and R. Because as Q and R plus A is 180, so we also can say that R1, R2 plus Q and R is 180 degree. By comparing these conditions, by comparing these two equations, we able to get R1 plus R2 equal to A. So here the total deviation we are having, as you can see, that delta equals to I minus R1, that is incident angle minus refracted angle onto this face AB, and E minus R2, that is a refraction angle E minus incident angle R2 onto the side AC. So that is the total deviation we able to get it by the two phases AB and AC. So delta we are having I plus E minus A. So here angle of deviation depends on the incidence angle. Here the graphical graph plot is available, that is between angle of deviation and angle of incidence. As we can see that at the point of I equal to E corresponds to the two value I and hence of E. Both values are available by the least value. As initially we can say angle of incidence I increases, then deviation is going to be reduced. At one point the common value we are getting. After that point, even though the incidence angle is increases, then deviation will increases. So here the expected summary of I and E, that delta remains the same if I and E are interchange. If angle of incidence and angle of emergence are same, then delta or the deviation cannot take place. Here the ray of path can be traced back by taking the same angle of deviation. If we are giving the angle of incidence or the ray is passing from AC side of the prism, then also from the AB side same emergence angle will be there. If I and E will be same, but its position if we are changing, if incident angle onto the AC side and emergence angle or the refracted ray we are taking from AB side, and if angle of incidence I is same, then we are getting emergence angle E also same. If E and I are same value, then deviation is again remains same. Here minimum deviation is defined as a dm, that delta equal to dm when I equal to E. From that we can say that R1 equal to R2, that is refraction angle inside the prism, that is remains same. So if we substitute these values, then 2R equal to A or R equal to A by 2. So delta, that is equal to deviation, minimum deviation dm equal to 2I minus A And if we make the subject of formula I, that in A plus dm by 2. By having that equation, we can say that if ray of angle is incident by that amount A plus dm by 2, then minimum deviation we can get it. Then refractive index of prism n12 equals to n2 by n1, that is sine of A plus dm by 2 divided by sine into A by 2. That A and dm, that can be measured experimentally. From this method, we can determine the refractive index of prism. If for small angle prism or a thin prism is there, then dm, the deviation is very small. So here, if A plus dm by 2 sine is very small, then sine of A plus dm by 2 can be replaced with A plus dm by 2. As we know, in sine theta, if theta is very less, then sine theta can be equated as a theta. Likewise, the same process is followed over here. That sine A plus dm by 2 replaced with the A plus dm by 2, and sine A by 2 is replaced by A by 2. Now in that equation, now make the subject of formula dm, then we are getting minimum deviation dm equal to n21 minus 1 into A. This is applicable for thin prisms which do not deviate light much. Next, dispersion by a prism. Here, as we know that sunlight is a very narrow beam is there, and it carries generally a white light. While this white light or sunlight is incident onto the prism, then other side of the prism we are getting several colors of beam. So here that light is seen to be consisting of several colors. Actually, these colors are available in terms of violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red, as you can see in the diagram. This red light bends by the least angle, and the violet light will bend by the most angle. This splitting of the light into the number of colors, into the number of components, this process is known as dispersion. These color components of light called the spectrum of light, and that spectrum of light is available in the visible spectrum of electromagnetic wave in the range of 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer. Now we want to define that does this prism will create the colors or it only separate the colors from the white light. For that, let us do one activity. Take two prisms and arrange it in opposite direction. As you can see in the diagram, white light beam is passing through the first prism, that will separate the colors in the number of spectrums, and this colors, number of colors beam is transmitted to the other prism which is placed in inverted manner. Then it can collect all the color spectrums individually, and at other side it will generate white light beam, as you can see in the diagram. By this condition, we can say that first prism splits the white light into the number of color components, and inverted prism combines all the color components and give the white light. So here we can say that prism just separates the color components, it cannot create. So white light itself consists that all the different colors. Here, ray of light that mathematically cannot be exist, we cannot define it. that is the beam of many rays of color, and it will split in number of colors, in number of components while passing through the glass prism. When these colors come out from other side, then it will produce a white beam. As we can see that inverted prism generates a white beam by combining all the current that is associated with wavelength of light. That visible spectrum is available, that is from 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer. And this dispersion takes place because the refractive index of medium for different wavelengths are different. So based on that, the bending of red component of white light is least and violet beam bending is most, while that red light travels faster and violet light in a glass prism. So violet light speed is less or least compared to all the colors. This thing we can observe from the table, that we assume the thick lenses to made a many prism, and these thick lenses show the chromatic aberration due to dispersion of light. Here the violet color having a wavelength 396.9, blue color having a wavelength 486.1 nanometer, yellow color having a wavelength 589.3 nanometer, and red color having a wavelength 656.3. So here wavelength from violet having a least and red color wavelength is most, and refractive index of chrome glass and flint glass if we can observe, then for the violet color in chrome glass refractive index is 1.533, and in flint glass that is a 1.663. Blue color refractive index in chrome glass is 1.523, and in flint glass that is 1.639. Yellow color having a refractive index in chrome glass 1.517, and in flint glass that is 1.627. Red color having a refractive index in chrome glass 1.515, and flint glass in which refractive index is 1.622. So here the variation of refractive index is available with the wavelength which pronounced in some medium than the other. In vacuum, the speed of light is independent of the wavelength, and that's why in vacuum a non-dispersive medium is there. So all the color travels by the same speed, and that's why it is visible as a white beam. That's why sunlight, it is defined as an white light and cannot be divided in all the color components in free space in vacuum, while the glass is dispersive medium. Clear? So here we are going to end this session. Hope you understood. Thank you.